Last night, while you were completely unconscious, your brain built a world. It cast you in a scene, gave you a threat you could not escape, and then made you feel genuine terror. You woke up. Your heart was pounding. And within 10 minutes, most of it was gone. So, here is the question that should bother you. Why would your brain do that to you on purpose? Because it did do it on purpose. That is not a metaphor. The sleeping brain is not broken when it gives you nightmares. It is working. And once you understand what it is actually doing in those dark hours, you will never think about a bad dream the same way again. First, you need to know where nightmares live. Sleep is not one long, quiet thing. It cycles through stages roughly every 90 minutes, and the stage that matters here is called REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement. During REM, your eyes flicker under your eyelids, your brain lights up almost as bright as when you are fully awake, and your body goes almost completely limp. Scientists discovered this in the 1950s, largely through the work of Nathaniel Kleitman and his graduate student Eugene Aserinsky at the University of Chicago. They noticed that when they woke people during REM, those people almost always reported vivid, story-like dreams. Nightmares are REM events, and REM gets longer and more intense as the night goes on, which is why the worst dreams almost always hit in the early morning hours, not right after you fall asleep. So why does REM produce these elaborate, frightening simulations? One of the most compelling answers comes from a Finnish neuroscientist named Antti Revonsuo. In 2000, he published what he called the threat simulation theory. His argument was this: dreams, and especially nightmares, are your brain running a rehearsal. For most of human history, the world was genuinely dangerous. Predators, enemy tribes, falling, drowning. Your brain, Revonsuo argued, uses the offline hours of sleep to practice responding to those threats in a safe environment. A nightmare about being chased is like a fire drill. Your nervous system learns the feeling of fear and practices the response, all without any real danger. The dream is the training ground. And when researchers looked at the content of nightmares across cultures, the same themes kept surfacing: being chased, falling, being paralyzed, losing people you love. Not anxiety about spreadsheets. Threats that would have mattered to your ancestors 100,000 years ago. That is not a coincidence. That is a pattern baked into the hardware. But Revonsuo's theory only explains part of it. There is a second reason nightmares happen, and this one is much more personal. Matthew Walker, a sleep scientist at the University of California, Berkeley, describes REM sleep as the brain's overnight therapy session. During REM, your brain replays emotional memories, but it does something strange. It strips away the sharp emotional charge while keeping the content of the memory. You remember what happened, but the raw sting of it softens. Walker compares it to a photograph that keeps its image, but loses its acid. The bad thing still exists in your memory, but it stops being a wound every time you touch it. Nightmares are what happens when that process hits something the brain cannot fully process in one night. Stress, grief, trauma, big change, these can overload the system. The brain keeps returning to the material, like a tongue returning to a sore tooth, trying to file it down. This is why soldiers with PTSD have recurring nightmares. Researcher Rachel Yehuda's work at Mount Sinai has shown that people with post-traumatic stress disorder often have nightmares in which the emotional intensity never fades, the normal REM processing is disrupted, and the brain cannot complete its own repair job. The nightmare is not cruelty. It is an incomplete attempt at healing. Then there is sleep paralysis, which takes the nightmare experience and makes it stranger still. During REM, your brain sends a signal that temporarily disconnects your muscles so you do not act out your dreams. Occasionally, something goes wrong with the timing. You become conscious before that paralysis lifts. You are awake, you cannot move, and your dreaming brain is still generating imagery. Many people see a figure in the room, something sitting on their chest, a shadow in the corner. Sleep paralysis has been recorded across centuries and cultures. The old hag in Newfoundland folklore, the incubus and succubus of medieval Europe, the kanashibari of Japanese tradition. The same experience, the same dark figure, because the same brain mechanism is producing it everywhere. It is not supernatural. It is your motor system and your perceptual system, briefly out of sync. Here is the turn, and it matters. Nightmares are not a sign that something is wrong with you. They are a sign that your brain is trying to do something right. The threat rehearsal, the emotional processing. These are services your sleeping brain is performing for your waking self. A 2019 study published in Human Brain Mapping by Virginie Sterpenich and colleagues at the University of Geneva actually found that people who had more nightmares showed less fearful responses to threatening images when they were awake. The rehearsal worked. The bad dream made them calmer, not more afraid. So the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning, heart pounding, trying to shake off something that felt completely real, consider this. Your brain was not torturing you. It was doing the most careful, quiet, important work it knows how to do. It was sorting through everything difficult and preparing you to face it. It was running a simulation so that real life does not have to be the first time you know how to handle fear. The nightmare was the lesson. You just had to live through it first.